There will be another death. There will. And I can't sit back and know I could have spoken.
They are frightened to speak out, but they are also scared not to. This head teacher says he considered taking his own life after an Ofsted inspection 6 months ago.
The worst 2 days of my entire career, possibly the worst 2 days of my adult life.
What was it that made it so difficult?
The way they spoke to us, the way they behaved, the rapid-fire questions without ever listening to the answers. It wasn't a discussion. They'd already decided.
So what was so distressing about this inspection?
I felt that I'd achieved absolutely nothing here. Well, I didn't feel that I was told that by an inspector in a meeting on my own. And my thoughts on the way home were mostly around what I was going to do. I found myself wondering that for heads that didn't go home to a family in the same way that I was going to, how easy it would be to take one for the team. Because when there's a second death, I suspect that this will have to stop.
I've been visiting school leaders across England who've contacted me to say they're struggling after recent Ofsted inspections, despite a new framework being brought in to improve teacher welfare. I've just received another email from a principal of a secondary school that was inspected this month. At 7:30, they were sent an email by the lead inspector with a list of more than 10 pieces of evidence needed for 8:30 the next day. Senior leaders didn't leave the building until 11 p.m. on the day before or day one of the inspection. Last year, Ofsted changed its framework for how it inspects schools after carrying out the biggest consultation in its history. It replaced single-word judgments with a report card with 5 colour-coded ratings to make it clearer for parents. Schools are now assessed across 7 different areas, including behaviour, curriculum and pupils' achievement. Claypool Primary was a good school. Under the new framework, they got expected standard for everything, but a set of disappointing exam results means they are needs attention for achievement. The head teacher says the inspectors were fair, but waiting 3 months for the report was not.
How do you feel about this report?
I feel quite demoralised by the report. It was damaging to my health to be at the start of it. I actually contacted 3 of my closest colleagues and said, if something was to happen to me, please will you come in and look after my children and my staff during that absence. That was how worried I was about my own health.
What did you think was going to happen to you?
My blood pressure rose, my pulse rate was higher, I couldn't sleep properly. And it's because you care so much about the school and the children and the staff, and I didn't want to let any of them down.
Every leader talks to me about Ruth Perry, who took her own life in 2023. The coroner, investigating her death, said the tragedy was contributed to by an Ofsted inspection at her school. I met her sister Julia, who says Ofsted and the government haven't made enough changes.
They were issued with a prevention of future deaths report. I mean, that is a significant thing, and that title, Prevention of Future Deaths, and they should have been doing absolutely everything in their power to ensure that head teachers are not made to feel as Ruth did, and clearly that isn't the case, and it's very, very worrying and very depressing and actually quite frightening.
We think between us now we've probably got about a dozen head teachers that have contacted us and spoken to us about a traumatic Ofsted this year.
So what really worries me is for each person who's contacted me or you, there are probably others who haven't spoken to anyone because they feel ashamed or frightened or bullied into not speaking. And in a way, it's them that I'm more worried about.
This school got a strong Ofsted report that many can only wish for, but the head here is retiring next month, in part because of what he experienced earlier this year.
During one of the meetings we had with the inspection team, a member of my senior leadership team cried and had to leave the room. That was the level of stress we felt. I cried too, and that caused my deputy, who saw that, to call the Ofsted emergency helpline. In my professional career, I've never been affected as badly by something as I was on this occasion. And I want to add, at the outcome, at the final point of that inspection, we did extremely well. But the journey to get to that judgment was traumatising and harrowing.
He says the new framework doesn't improve teacher welfare.
At one point I said, no, I'm not okay, I'm terrified. And they had nothing to offer me at that. So it does beg the question, is it just piecemeal? Are they just asking because they're told to ask?
Ofsted said it's apologised to John Hayes and to Amanda Hume. The Chief Inspector of Schools, Sir Martyn Oliver, said he was sorry to hear these stories and that the new framework has been designed with head teachers' wellbeing firmly in mind. He said he cannot remove all the pressure from the inspection process and the priority is always the education and welfare of children.
I don't want there to be another Ruth. I really don't. And there will be another death. There will be another death.
Schools have to be accountable though.
Yeah, 100%. And I wouldn't want to work in a system where they didn't. What I want is inspectors to be accountable. There was lots of talk when Martyn Oliver came in about schools needing to be accountable for their actions, and I completely support that. But inspectors must also be held to account for how they conduct themselves and how they conduct an inspection.
When Sir Martyn Oliver got the job, the top job at Ofsted, he said no one should be made to feel the way that Ruth Perry did.
I did, and I still do, and we are now months on. It's still the first thing I think about when I wake up and when I go to sleep. And that's not about judgments and sour grapes. It's about how a group of people have made me feel. And what caused Ruth to do what she did was how she was made to feel. But have I felt the same? I think I probably have. I think I still do.
So things haven't improved since her death then?
It's worse. It's worse.
The head of Ofsted recently told MPs that early feedback from schools inspected this year suggests the new framework is reducing pressure. But only one of the head teachers we spoke to said they'd been invited to share their views. Stacey Foster, ITV News.